So hi Hans, it's a pleasure to have you again here at our media center at the World Hydrogen Congress. So we last seen us here at the same spot a year ago, met in between in different places all around the world and have seen really exciting developments in the area of hydrogen. And to start and to get to know also better you and our interview partner, I wanted to ask you again, so what was your personal journey to hydrogen and to your current position at Worley?
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, and thank you for having me. I have been working in energy, mainly renewable energy and energy efficiency since 25 years, and I have seen the limits of green electricity to reach all sectors to reduce emissions. So we need green molecules. We need green molecules to reach chemical industry, heavy transport, and all other sectors to achieve decarbonization. And I'm convinced it's doable, because if we think back in the renewable energy, and let's think about the offshore wind industry 20 years ago, every single foundation was a pioneer project. It took a lot of time, it was expensive, and it was a lot of logistic efforts. And nowadays this is a mature industry. And I'm convinced that we can do even better for the hydrogen development.
Okay. This is an interesting approach, because I mean, during the last year, the conferences we have also jointly been, bankability was always a topic. So, and I know Worley is involved in projects all around the world. So from your point of view, what are still the challenges for these projects in reaching the final investment decision, and especially then at the end being also realized?
Yeah, one of the challenges is the long value chain, and we have been involved meanwhile in more than 250 hydrogen projects worldwide. And there is a long value chain that needs to function from the beginning, from the electricity production to the electrolyzer unit, to the water supply and desalination, and then to storage of all media, and then depending on ammonia production or e-methanol or other products or support by pipeline. And we see two different types of projects. One is, I would say, in industrialized areas in regions like Europe, for example, where you take electricity from the grid. Then you have to install the electrolyzer, the water facility, and all the chemical part, and that is already a long value chain. And even more in areas and regions where projects are being planned, including the electricity production, the solar and wind production, then you have an even longer value chain. And the thing is that each single asset of this whole plant needs to work together, because if you don't have water supply, the whole will stand still. If the electrolyzer doesn't work, the same. If the ammonia train doesn't work, it's the same, and the same goes for the electricity production. So, and Worley, we are experienced in the molecule part, in the chemical part, as well as in the electrical part. So we are one of the companies that have the overview and integrate these projects to realize them, and then to optimize them and integrate them.
Okay, great. So thanks for this clarification. And especially when it comes to these two different regions and regional approaches you mentioned. I mean, we all know the Middle East is definitely an emerging market when it comes to hydrogen. But Worley is also strongly involved in Southern Africa, like a market that wasn't yet on the landscape a few years ago, but now with a lot of projects announced. So what is the potential that you and Worley see in the region, and the ambitions you have down there?
The potential is large there, and we are also, as you said, heavily involved. And we have to look at different markets. So if we look at Europe, we have projects in the size that are now being realized 50, 100, 200 megawatt. The largest that reached its final investment decision is the Holland Hydrogen 1 from Shell. Worley has been the engineer to drive it there. This is the far advanced project in Europe. And then we look at Middle East, where we have earlier projects, but much, much bigger. Our biggest project where we are involved is in Oman, the Green Energy Oman, which is 25,000 megawatts of solar and wind to be developed, to be erected later. that has an estimated construction time of 10 years for an operation of 40 plus years afterwards. And that is very exciting. And then we look at Southern Africa, which has a great potential because you have also excellent conditions in wind and solar radiation and wind conditions. I have been in Namibia and standing there with 10 hours of sun every day and the wind is blowing you away, and then a port nearby, you can see that this is excellent conditions. And that is also why we leave our normal position as an engineer implementing projects and sit together with others to help to develop a regulatory framework. For example, to take one example is the shared infrastructure or common user infrastructure. So imagine there's different projects being developed in a country and the first builds all its pipelines, all its transmission connection and transmission lines for the own project. Then project number 2, 3, 4, 5 come. If everyone would build their own pipelines, it's not only a waste of money because they could share storage, they could share transmission lines, etc. It's also an environmental consideration because some of these areas are environmental protected areas and we don't want to see 10 pipelines in parallel being built to the port. And in this respect, we have just finalized a study for the government of Namibia on common user infrastructure that will be shared with the sectors and as a common knowledge, to help to enhance the comprehension of different models that exist on ownership, on who operates these assets from existing industry parks, existing renewable energy systems, think in the offshore wind connection to grid, different models in continental Europe and UK, and other parts, and comparing the pros and cons of these models. And this is one example where we leave our position as others and collaborate to get clarity and to help to enhance the discussion between the different stakeholders, government, suppliers, investment community, engineers, to find a solution to progress the development of low carbon hydrogen development.
Thank you very much. A very good explanation. But this leads me also to my next question. I mean, you mentioned the 25 gigawatt project in Oman. I mean, just the sheer size, we're talking about 10 times plus the size of a nuclear power plant in green energy production. And same in large-scale projects, gigawatt projects in Namibia. So this needs a whole new infrastructure, this needs a whole new supply chain. So when talking about these mega projects as Worley, so what key challenges do you see on the way in really implementing these projects and constructing them and at the end really commissioning them and bringing them live?
Yeah, that's a valid question because it's not so much a financing problem, it's a logistic challenge worldwide that we have. If you think in a 1 gigawatt plant as a standard size, let's imagine half wind, half solar, that encounters 60,000 tons of steel for the windmills, 1.2 million solar panels, 3,000 kilometers of cable and 40 kilometers of internal roads to be built. So, and all this material needs to come from somewhere. It needs to be produced, transported, delivered, assembled, and put into operation. So this is a huge logistical challenge. And thinking in the fact that in projects we always had a focus on local value creation and in-country value, what can be done locally in these projects, but this was more from a socio-economic point of view to enhance, to help to progress with labor, GDP growth, etc. Nowadays, additionally, this is to simply de-risk the projects because all this material needs to come from, and it's not only about getting the cheapest electrolyzer and the cheapest pipeline, it's also to get them in time and in the volume and amounts that you need. And that's why we collaborate with all our clients and projects to develop also these plans. So we are helping the projects to be implemented, but also the infrastructure environment to be ready.
Okay, and then talking about logistics, like these large amounts of goods that need to be shipped, addressed, and so on. There are certainly tools and digital tools you can use to optimize these kind of processes.
Yes, we need to help projects to be implemented faster and more long-term. And also what we need is, look, we have very little experience in constructing these mega projects, and we means the whole market. We have even less experience when it comes to operation of these assets. No one has operated an asset of more than 20 gigawatt green hydrogen production. So what we have done is that we have teamed up with companies like ABB and IBM and Worley together from different angles, developing an asset optimization center, which also will be discussed tomorrow on this conference, where the three partners bring in different experience. So we don't want to wait in our corner until projects evolve that we could play our role, but we said we need to help the market to develop far ahead, and everyone to understand how these assets would operate in the future. So while ABB is bringing in more the operational experience and energy management experience, Worley is bringing in all the engineering experience and data and construction and design. And IBM is the integrator of this platform into an ERP system. And together we have created this platform to help investors and developers and everyone working in these projects to understand the implications of early decision taking even before constructing it, to see the interdependencies on what that means for the future operation of this plant. So we need to get more insight and to understand better how these projects and these assets will be run in the future, and how the decisions that we take, maybe to invest a bit more in one part and then have lower OPEX, how this will be realized in this project and how we can optimize the overall levelized cost of hydrogen, because that's the issue, to bring that down. And that's why the keywords is here collaboration, collaboration and collaboration.
I think I couldn't imagine about a better statement for the end of this interview. So thank you very much, Hans, for your time and your insights. Looking forward to seeing you soon again and talking about the latest insights about the hydrogen market and the position of Worley.
Thank you, Thomas.